Hello again. Welcome to my little YouTube channel. Thanks for checking me out. I appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. I will continue with my string of strange dream recollections. I had a real weird one this afternoon, totally out of left field. Um, I guess they like to throw me curveballs while I'm sleeping. I actually woke up this morning not feeling really great. It felt like a stomach flu. My stomach was really, gooey, googey. That doesn't mean anything, but it's a word I made up this afternoon. I feel kind of googey, and I had a really sharp headache. And funny enough, they're starting to recede now, so I don't know if it's literally a 24-hour flu. We'll see how I feel tomorrow, but I do feel better than I did this morning. So I slept most of the day. A lot of the day I called in sick to work. And of course, when you sleep so much, then your dreams just keep getting weirder and weirder because you have essentially you got too much sleep. So this dream that I had this afternoon, well, the setting was, I wish I could tell you the exact time period, but it felt like um, maybe the late 1700s. No, it couldn't be 1700s. Maybe sometime in the 1800s, and I was in a European country, um, like maybe France, though I don't. No one was speaking French, but I mean, it could have been sort of translated for me in the dream. But it felt like I was in France, and it felt like I was aware that there was a plague of some kind going on. I don't know anything about the history of Europe in the 1800s to know about any plagues offhand, um, other than that one that they were talking about a while ago. That I think that was like 1903, the one that was a worldwide one. So I don't know, but where I was like most of the dream took place in a very fancy cafe, and everyone was dressed immaculately well, including myself. I was wearing a very old-looking suit. I mean, it was not old in the dream, but I mean it was from another era, almost certainly. I think I had some kind of hat on that went along with it. Tie, vest, like a whole thing, whole ensemble in a small fancy restaurant, and it appeared that I was a person of some means, and I was on a date with a blonde haired woman. I think in the dream, I might have been a little bit older than I am now. And I was not, I was a bit overweight and a bit more uncomfortable with my physical appearance. And the young woman, I don't know. Oh, here comes Shay, darting around. Let's say maybe she was in her 30s. Like, she wasn't super young, but she was younger than me. And she had like curly shoulder length hair. And she was tall. I think she was a little taller than I was. And she was wearing a very beautiful, fancy dark dress of some kind, like maybe blue. I don't know about velvet, but maybe. And we're having dinner, and she I guess I'm interested in this woman, but she doesn't seem to be particularly interested in me. She's polite, but she's not engaged, and I feel somewhat disappointed by this, but not devastated. And I I get up at one point. Let me think about this part. I want to get the order of events right. Okay. When I get up from the table, I go and I speak with a man who is a somewhat mysterious man. I don't know, I think he had just brown hair. Um, but was telling me, he told me that he was working against me. He told me that he had spoken to the young woman while I was away, maybe in the restroom or something, excuse me, or earlier in the day. And he had told her negative things about me in order to undermine me in this romantic attempt, I guess. And he also said, excuse me, that he had been hired by my enemies to do this. And in the dream, I didn't really have a sense of who those enemies might be. That's a weird aspect. So he told me, and I believed him, but I don't think I really knew like who would want to go to that length to cause me harm or disappointment or whatever. So as we're talking, I think I'm aware in the dream that I might be perceived by other people as being there goes Shay again. As being maybe overly sensitive or perhaps soft, because my demeanor in most exchanges with people is reasonable. I'm reasonable, and I'm quiet, and I conduct my affairs with some discretion, and there is some of the opposition that I've experienced is from people who, again, think maybe I'm not masculine enough. So something like that. But when this man tells me that he's been hired to work against me and that he's actually actively interfered with my my date for the evening, it makes me mad. And as this man, I sort of make a split-second decision to change my life. And I decide that I'm going to be more outwardly aggressive. And it's not as if any time passed in the dream, but in a sense it felt like I had made a fundamental change as this person in a split instant. And I immediately sort of switched gears and thought, okay, I'm going to flip the tables on this script, and I'm going to change. I'm going to attempt to change how I'm perceived and see if that's more to my advantage. I think that was the thinking. So I tell this man who has been hired to help undermine me by enemies unknown, I tell him that I will pay him extra, and in return, I want him to turn on the people who hired him. I'm going to pay him a lot of money to help me aggressively undermine the people who are attempting to undermine me. And he agrees to this. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, like, as he departs, and it's like I went back up a staircase or something, and maybe back towards the table for dinner. I'm thinking, I have two sets of enemies. I have the enemies that this man works for, and the man himself, and I'm going to get all of them. I'm going to destroy them. And I don't know precisely what destroy means. I don't necessarily mean kill them, but ruin them. I'm going to attempt to ruin them. And I'm keeping the secret of my bigger plan to myself. I'm going to use the man who is sent to hurt me to first harm my enemies, and then I'm going to destroy that man too. That is my plan. But then there's a moment where I'm walking back to the table, I think, and the woman I'm with encounters me near, like, where the maitre d' would be. And of course, again, everyone in this place is immaculately dressed, and it's dark. It's a dark cafe, maybe candlelit, no pun intended. Atmospheric, mysterious. You can feel that there are power players who go to this room. And in the moment that I had decided to sort of try to change my own fortunes by altering my personality, I am also thinking about, how there is a plague going on, and I'm sort of among the elites, and I'm thinking about all the suffering that's going on elsewhere, while these kind of games of political daggery are going on, in the dark. And I don't know if it makes me feel a twinge of guilt, but I'm simply aware that in this environment, I'm privileged. But I've like almost immediately turned a corner in the dream, because I'm heading towards being a bit more what's the word? Bit more cunning myself in a way that I hadn't been up until this point. And it seems like I'm aware, I'm almost like immediately aware that this strategy is going to work to some extent, that it's going to attract more money and power to me. Like, I don't know how I know this, but it's almost like I could feel the future. And when the woman comes over to me while I'm standing by the maitre d', her demeanor has changed already. I don't know if she saw my exchange with the man who was working against me, or she just sensed the change in me. But this time when she came up to me, she was more flirtatious. She even sort of rubbed herself against me, and which was surprising. And I felt more powerful in the moment, but yet it was almost like there was an omniscient narrator to this dream, because it was so much like a story, as many of my dreams are. There was almost like an omniscient narrator who was saying or telling me in the back of my mind, this is going to work. You are going to acquire more power and influence, and perhaps attract more attention from women, but ultimately it will lead to my own ruin. It will lead to sadness. It will lead to self-defeat. But I don't know why I know this. It's like I can feel the whole arc of the future ahead of me in this one evening of turning from one sort of way of living in the world, which is closer to my nature, towards a way that was more alien to my nature, but had short-term benefits. And that was just really interesting because I didn't expect this dream. I to be in the environment that I was in was different. I don't really recall ever really dreaming about sort of like being anywhere in Europe, 200 years ago or whatever this was. I've sometimes had dreams, if you've watched some of my other videos, more recently I've had some dreams of like being in rural America, maybe in the late 1800s or early 1900s, which I've been wondering if those are like gazes at a past life. I have no idea if this one was or wasn't because it was so foreign. And the fact that like the subject matter was triggered by nothing that I can think of. It's not like I watched a movie that was kind of like this environment or anything. That's what makes a lot of my dreams so hopefully interesting to other people too. Strange and kind of they're puzzles for me to think about because I don't know like what always the origin is, why. But I don't necessarily think that the dream was meant to reflect the times we live in, but it does anyway. If you think about a lot of the bad actors that we're seeing politically and socially, like on the national stage, especially men who are trying to be more than they are, who are trying to exhibit, who are trying to demonstrate or prove that they have power and authority by being cruel. They're trying to assert that cruelty is inherently powerful. And they're all over the world. I mean, just today, the Russian mercenary, his plane was his plane mysteriously exploded today, and you coincidentally had the Republican debates, which I didn't watch because no, thank you. With a lot of pretenders on that stage, two people again who are trying to project strength through cruelty, and I don't have any interest in watching that. We've experienced more than enough of it firsthand in this country and in the world for the last number of years. And I would like to think that that is a tired energy that is maybe on its way out, or at least reduced in its influence. So I don't know if that's where the dream's coming from, but it is relevant, I guess, in that way, even if just coincidentally. So that's my dream for the evening. Make of it what you will. Comments, of course, always welcome. If you've had any dreams like this that you'd like to share, I am definitely interested. Yeah, very strange. Very strange. I think the most interesting thing about the dream was knowing that as this man, I was taking a turn that would benefit me in a superficial way and for a period of time, but would ultimately only end really with sadness. Because if you live that kind of life and you got to the end and you wanted to, say in older age, as a person like that, you become ill and you feel more vulnerable. You feel you're more aware of your vulnerability than you are when you're younger, and you have more strength and your immune system works better, and you just have the natural cockiness of youth that many have, not all. When you get older and you may feel more vulnerable, then that's when I think you reflect on the choices you've made and who is in your orbit, who is in your life. um, do you have, yeah, do you have people in your life who really care about you as you, um, as opposed to a means to an end? What they talk about, transactional relationships, which it's just not interesting to me. Transactional relationships, and I think that sometimes, if you choose to live maybe the quieter, more humble life, you might not get as many of the seemingly outward, material rewards, but you will feel more aligned with your true nature. And that's how it feels for me. Um, and it's not as if I have a ton of friends, or a ton of family who are close, but I have enough. I have enough that I know the difference between, um, a real ally and someone who might be more interested in me for what they think I can do for them. You know what I mean? So I feel like, I'd be glad to have more true friends, but I'm not going to change. I'm not going to compromise my beliefs towards that end, because then you're undermining yourself, as this man in the dream was doing. And so, then you hope that the relationships that you have are meaningful and strong. And I have enough of those, so I hope you do too, even if they're few. But it matters. And then those are the people who, you make your bed with, so to speak. I mean, you have genuine trust and love in many cases. So, and I mean, what else is there at the end of life? You don't. I don't think you. I don't think a lot else would have meaning. I don't know. Now I feel like I'm rambling. So I'll stop. Thanks for watching and listening. I appreciate it. Yes, of course, comments welcome. Like, subscribe, etc., etc. I mean, it's hilarious. I just lose people all the time, so my channel only ever gets smaller, but that's okay. You know, the true and the faithful. I appreciate you. All right, take care. See you later.